This is some pretty chill music that he's got going there. Every Sunday we start off with a little new song he's got going in the background. The producer with the mostest. I usually say the hostess with the mostest, but since I'm hosting, I can't say that. So I can say the producer with the mostest. So we don't have a guest this week. It's just me and you. We're going to have a conversation this week about the housing market, the headlines, the new buzzword in real estate with all the experts is balanced market. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. We're also going to be doing something a little fun. Since it is just me and you, I have come across some things kind of relating to more of a balanced market, which is, things that we kind of have forgotten about is all the new home construction. So I have some little video clips I'm going to be sharing with you about some new home inspections that have been happening and my concern for what's happening with some of the new construction that's happening across the United States, because as you know, it hasn't necessarily been up to par. So you're going to be seeing that. And I have some other TikTok things I want to share with you. So this is going to be a very lighthearted, very fun stream. It's just me and you guys. You're welcome to ask your real estate questions at any time. And right away, I want to start with Crow Homestead's question. And this is a question. Hey, Eddie, that's not the question. Crow Homestead was the question I said I was going to start it off with. Eddie, the hostess is here. I'm going to put it on the screen. Here, I got it. Question: is the general mood in the US happy or gloomy at the moment? Here in the UK, it's desperately negative. And I would say it depends on who you talk to. I think everybody has been through a emotional trauma for the last 2 years. This whole pandemic thing, I don't think any country has gone unscathed, thinking that everything is fantastic after shutdowns, supply chain issues, housing prices. But I think for the most part, most people just are really focusing on moving forward. I wouldn't say it's happy-go-lucky, yay, everything's back to normal, happy, but I wouldn't say it's just full of despair either. Yeah, so that's the feeling I get. I try to really not watch as much negative stuff as possible. I try not to read as much negative stuff. And when it does read negative, I've been doing a lot more investigating on who's writing the story and why they would be writing it that way. That happens a lot in housing market stories. So if you ever notice, I don't share a lot of some articles because of the fact that I know who's writing it and why they're writing it that way. Because, there's always an agenda. Everybody has an agenda, and I don't have one, so I can scrutinize those things a little bit better. There's no hidden agenda in there for me. So, anyways, so without further ado, let's talk about the more balanced market, as they say. Eddie, go ahead and throw that article up on the screen. You know what? And while Eddie's putting that on the screen, I want everybody to answer that question. Do you feel like that people are more negative or positive now, or do you feel like they're trying to get out of their negative move and try to move forward? Is that a good perception that you have? Anyway, so balance returns to the U.S. housing market with seasonal slowdowns expected this winter. So that always happens in the fall, right after September, we see a decline of the amount of houses that are sold. We also see a decline of the amount of listings that are on the market. Okay, so home prices remain elevated, but fewer sellers. Oops, Eddie scrolled up a little too high. Sellers are listing their properties. And I had said a while back that if the supply of houses started to look like it was trickling up, and those sellers that were kind of feeling out the market, if they had a good mortgage rate, where they refinanced at those 2-3% marks, so they're not going to put their house up for sale. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening. Bounce is returning to the U.S. housing market following a 2 years frenzied activity, according to the data from Realtor.com on Thursday. Prices elevated to a rising 14.4% in the week ending Saturday compared to the last time last year. At the same time last year. For the 36 weeks straight of double-digit increases year over year, the data showed. The weekly trends have bounced back up, down recently, but remain the same range we've seen over the last 35 weeks. Bigger deceleration trend is evident in this monthly data. So they're thinking that we're going to see a lot less houses being sold. This is the usual seasonal price slowdown, which began in July as the median asking price finally slipped to 449. Now the median price that came from the National Association of Realtors last month was 428. So realtor.com's is a little different than what the National Association of Realtors. It said it slipped to 449, down $1,000 from June at the all-time high. So we're going to see less houses on the market. I maintain that we're going to be seeing I would say it's going to be a flat market. Like they say balanced, I say we're going to hit the flat zone. Like nothing's going to sell, nothing's going to go down, nothing's going to go anywhere. There's just going to be very few sales, very few price, unless somebody has to really sell their house. I can't see it like going in the tank unless, and I will say this and I'll maintain this, unless the job market goes totally kaputs. And this trend of where they're saying balanced market is really what they're trying to say is stagnant. It's just going to be a lot of nothing, a lot of nothing. So let me show you what the buzzword is though. And that's why I used it in the title. Eddie, go ahead and put up that article. Sean Shackleton says, I agree. She's a real estate agent. So just a full on what they're saying, balance. Look at the title of this before we get into these numbers. Economists have a strange new buzzword for the housing market that will shock buyers and sellers. And the buzzword again is balanced because they don't want to say stagnant. They don't want to say stagnant because that sounds bad. It's more balanced. No, it's stagnant. It ain't going nowhere. It's just sticking there. So the median prices they're saying are up 14.4%. New listings are down 12%. But this is not surprising. I'm going to say this again. Less people are going to be willing to put their house on the market unless they have to sell, especially if they have a low interest rate. And why would they sell if their house is at, let's say 2.5% and they go to buy a house down the street? Sure, it's less money, but the interest rate is so high, they're going to be paying more than they would to stay in their original house. So I think we're going to see a lot of more of that trend unless the jobs market tanks. Times on the market, they're saying 4 days longer. National Association of Realtors said it was 2 days longer. So time on the market, it was 25 days. So if they're saying 4 days longer, it's probably 29 days. A level market, a even playing field was 45 days on the market before the pandemic started. So even with that, 29 days on the market is nothing. It's nothing to cry about. And mortgage rates are around 5.5%, which isn't bad. I mean, 5.5%. I didn't get that for my first house. My first house, I spent 7.5%. I think that's what it was. And everybody's like, "Oh, you got a good deal." And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I got a good deal." And then the mortgage rates went down again, and they were like at 5%. And I was like, I kept thinking because I didn't know any better. I was like, man, those people ripped us off. We could have gotten a better interest rate. No, we couldn't have. The rates weren't there then, but I didn't know, I didn't know. Nobody told me. So if there's any questions, go ahead and throw them up on the screen, Eddie. All right. In New York and places like that, where the home values keep going up, but not my paycheck, is the only option to move, or do you think the market will self-adjust, aka drop? I don't know your area of New York to give you a rubber stamp. Yes, this is the concrete answer. I know that rental rates are going to start finally softening. Thank God, because they were ridiculous, and some of these landlords need to have their head examined. but it does look like the rental market's going to start softening a bit, which is good news, especially if you're in that rental area. As far as home values, I don't understand how any of these areas are main. I never even understood how they could go up that high in the first place. Um, the median price home here does not cover the median income here at all. And I predict for my area, we're going to see a softening, but it's never going to, in my opinion, for my area, it's never going to be pre-pandemic levels ever again. I don't, unless the job market collapses, I don't predict that we're going to be seeing pre-pandemic highest house pricing. I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but it's true. My personal belief is, from everything that I've seen and what's holding up this economy, these housing prices. People bought houses. A lot of them bought them cash. Not only that, to qualify for a home loan currently in the last few years was much more stringent than it ever was in the last housing collapse. So the fact that they would crumble and fall is, I don't know. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it. That's all I can say. There isn't that as many people that have those interest only loans. I have been looking at, and I'm going to continue to look at people that have used their homes line of credit, like equity home lines of credit. That interests me. I think that's something that we need to keep an eye on, because that is one of those things that caused one of the many elements that caused the last housing collapse. Was people kept using their houses as ATMs, and they would just take out their money and buy a boat and revamp their kitchen and do all this other stuff. And then they were like, oh, I have to pay that money back. Like, I would like to say people have learned their lesson from that, but as we know, people never learn their lesson from anything. So that's one number I'm going to continuously keep an eye on, and it's not one that's tracked as heavily as others. So I'll keep an eye on that. Whenever the new numbers come out with how many people have HELOCs and home equity lines of credit, I'll let you know. But they did pause that during the pandemic as well. It was really difficult to get a HELOC during the pandemic. So interesting. Hello, Kelly. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Where is the like button? There should be a little below the screen where I'm flapping my lips. There should be a little thumbs up button that gives it right there. Thumbs up button. It seems this week I put out a video about land and you guys really liked it. So if you're coming in from the land video, thank you so much for watching and leaving such nice comments. It was a nice relief from some of the comments I have been getting for the last few videos. So thank you very much for watching that. Any rules for homes listed at auction? Are you allowed to use a mortgage? Every auction site has a different set of rules, so you have to get their rules ahead of time. A lot of them have a website that will tell you what you need to know, and you can download and print that PDF. Some auction sites are like, yeah, you can use your mortgage. Some of them are like, nope, cash only. So it just depends. I've done it for investors that have used a mortgage, and they have no issue with it. It's the money talks. That's all they care about, is what they're going to get in the end. So you just investigate which auction site you're going to use and if they will take a mortgage or not. Now, a lot of times you can work with a real estate agent on that, but some of them won't allow you to use a real estate agent and you have to pay them out of pocket. I don't know if you really want to do that. Maybe you can just work with a title attorney instead. I didn't say that out loud. When reviewing comps, is it acceptable to ask my realtor to ask the agents involved in the comps to provide appraisal info versus only looking at the sold amount? Market is so skewed with appraisal gaps. Okay, so if you are the seller and the buyer gets an appraisal, you as a seller are not entitled to see those numbers. The buyers have paid for it. It belongs to the bank that they're using and the buyers themselves. Now, if they're willing to share that with you, that's totally fine. But your real estate agent, even though it was shared with them, if they were told not to share it with you as the seller, they cannot do that. They cannot give you those numbers. But you always have people that aren't really necessarily the brightest bulb in the box, and you can always ask. So whenever there's a question that I already know the answer to that is going to be no, I still say, I'm going to go ahead and ask the real estate agent and see if they don't know any better, because I'm trying to represent my sellers as best as possible. So if they have that and I ask them and they give it to me, fantastic. Fantastic. It never hurts to ask. It never hurts to ask, not everybody knows what they're doing. So if they're willing to share it with you, you can go ahead and take it. But the best way for them to do it for you is for them to pull up what they call a cost market analysis, a CMA, and that's going to be your best way of knowing. Or if you are really truly interested in the house, but you're not really sure because it's been on the market, let's just say 30 days, you can have an appraisal done before you even put an offer on it. That's a $500 expense. So I don't know if you want to do that, but if it's that much of an investment to you and you're really concerned about the value of it, that might be $500 of peace of mind. So just a FYI. FYI. This is my attempt at the wave. I'm not really good at it. I'm trying to get out of the negative feeling because it's been weighing on every aspect of my life and keeping me depressed. I need optimism now. All right, totally off the real estate spew. This is honest to God. This is my mindset during the whole pandemonium. It really messed with my head. I'm not gonna lie. It made me very depressed because I was like, who wants to hear from me and why am I doing what I'm doing and all this stuff. I am not one of these la 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 people, but I've actually started meditating and it's actually helped. I'm not, incense and love and blah. I'm not that person. But I'm not gonna lie, meditation has helped. And I have really focused on anything that's negative that comes through my social media. As soon as they start off with something negative, I just literally just scroll right past it. Or I'll say not interested because I just don't want to hear it anymore. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of people making up these ridiculous things to be upset about. And they're not even it's not even a real problem. I just don't want to hear about it anymore. And all I care about is what's happening in the real estate market. How are we going to get people in more affordable homes? What is it I could do to help more people? And that's what I focus on. And you just find your focus and focus on that and then leave all the other stuff. It's just we hear a lot of noise. There's so much more noise around us than there ever has been. There used to be that television was the noise, but you could turn that off and you could walk into another room. But now we have these things, man. These are the noise. These are the noisiest things ever. So anyways, you hear the thunder? Yes, there is a massive thunderstorm above us. Yeah, that's the rumble. Negative. Most want to believe that we're heading for a crash. Price reductions don't mean an automatic crash, and they don't. So I know that a lot of people have seen the headlines, more sellers are taking price reductions. There's been more houses that have sat on the market longer. You got to remember, there was a lot of people that overpriced their houses to begin with. And they were living in la la land, even as though us as real estate agents would say, your house isn't worth 500,000. I know that your neighbor down the street sold their house for 445. That doesn't mean that yours has increased, 25,000 or whatever amount of money. It hasn't increased that much. You've got to be back in reality. You should really have it listed at 445 or 475 to get more people. And then they start panicking. They panic after 10 days. And they're like, we haven't had any showings. Well, you're overpriced. We told you that from the get-go. So then they take a big hit and a reduction. And then the buyers are like, they took a reduction. Maybe we'll go look at it now. And maybe we can even swindle more money down, which is awesome for buyers. Because honestly, the sellers have had so much leverage, so much power. I mean, what some of these sellers have done to home buyers is absolutely ridiculous. So for a few of them getting the taste of their own medicine, I can't feel bad for you. I'm sorry. I like a more level and balanced market where we can negotiate things, where people, there's a house. The buyers want to buy it. The sellers want to sell it. Let's meet in the middle and make sure that happens. And let's be reasonable with one another. And that's the feeling I get in my real estate market, that people are more willing to negotiate realistic terms, instead of having to give over your firstborn child and, your kidney. It got ridiculous there for a bit. Do you have any video on your channel on what it is needed to get undeveloped land ready for a home or homestead? I have several. I have a playlist on land. So, and there's also a book. I might even have a copy of it in here, but it's 10 things you need to know about land from Cheryl Sane, and it's on Amazon. It's a fantastic book, and it will tell you exactly what you need to know about getting that. And I don't know is your land raw land? Does it have utilities on it? I mean, there are so many things you need to know about land that you just don't even think about, especially if you've only bought houses that already existed. If you're buying a raw piece of land, it's like a whole new territory of real estate. Most real estate agents don't even know all the things you need to know about buying land. That's why it's really important to work with a real estate agent that understands what you need when you buy land. Matter of fact, if you're looking for a real estate agent in your area, you can always visit my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com, and I will give you a referral to several real estate agents I know in the area. I plugged it. Are BlackRock and Blackstone still buying up houses? They have paused. I don't know about Blackstone, but I know that BlackRock has paused, and I know why they're pausing. They're pausing because there was a bucket of foreclosed properties that were held. They were held during the COVID, right? Because they had all those foreclosure for moratoriums and everything that happened. So they're waiting for those foreclosures to get back on the market so they can scoop them up. That's exactly what they're doing. The housing correction intensifies. Blackstone has stopped buying homes in these 38 regional housing markets. Oh, this will be interesting. Which are the 38? They're just waiting for these the bucket of foreclosures that were sitting there. Which are the 38, Eddie? Yeah, I want to know. They don't want to hear this. They want to know which ones are the 38 housing markets. Eddie's going to pull it up. He's good about it. It just takes him a minute. My lighting fell. My lighting fell.
They don't show you.
Oh, they don't show you? Even if when you click on the link?
When you click on the link.
Oh, he's going to show us. When you click on the link, it shows something else. $38.83. It takes you there. Oh, look, see, this is what. Let me just explain something to you. If this is where it takes you to, this is one of those exact things. Who's writing the article? And look, it's Home Partners of America, and they want you to know you could rent to own.
So when you click on the 38 regional areas, that little blue link, this is exactly where it takes you.
That is something. Man, oh man, sneaky. They're sneaky. They don't want you to buy a house. They want you to rent. And as I've been saying, that is I call the Great Reset, is turning as many Americans into renters as possible. And how they market it to younger generations is totally crazy. They make it look really sexy, and that owning a home is the worst thing, because it's just, you have so many demands on yourself, and it's so stressful. It makes your life stressful for owning a home. Not that it will give you wealth in the future, but no, you want to rent from them. Home Partners of America. Man. Question: can you ask your next Texas guest to your show, why are all the metro areas seeing correction dip, yet El Paso seems to be keep building and growing? Thanks. I will have a Texas guest on there. Let me see if I'm gonna pull it in El Paso. I have to write it down because I have a memory of a sieve. I think that it's gonna, I'll remember that, and then as soon as this is over with, I remember nothing. Maybe I like to blame it on COVID, but I've always been like this. I've always kind of been a little dinging. That's why I have to write everything down. At least I'm aware enough to know that I have to write it down. All right. I'm writing it down. Here it is. Look, it's in the book. Texas agent around El Paso. Around El Paso. I have a lot of agents. I haven't had Matt Kelderman on here in a while because I've seen on the old social medias he's found himself some love. So he's been busy, man. I'm proud. I'm happy for him. Mary Gibbons says, no question. Just wanted to say, enjoy your show. You give people very valuable info. She didn't say very. I added that. It is amazing. People think you are biased. Kudos to you for being straightforward and presenting it in a non-salesperson manner. Refreshing. Well, thank you, Mary. And I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me. The comments during the live stream, I don't actually see them. Anytime that they come up on the screen is the only time I see them. So I don't know what people are saying in the chat, right? And our moderators are really good. They will clean out anything that's kind of happening. After this is published, I erase nothing. I let the comments fly as they may. If a comment doesn't appear, it's not because I erased it. It's because YouTube has flagged it for some reason. And then it ends up in the stratosphere, who knows where. But sometimes when I read those comments, they're very hurtful because people will say, well, the only reason she's saying that is because she wants to sell more homes. That couldn't be more further from the truth. I live in a very small town. The amount of homes that people sell here, it's not like, I don't live in Austin, Texas. I don't live in like these areas that are like flying off the shelves. We have a regular real estate market. And that's why we're kind of insulated on what really happens nationally and compared to other areas. And I really just enjoy talking about real estate. I know that sounds insane, but Eddie can attest to this. I will spend so much time on the phone with a lot of the guests that you see. We just sit there and we talk about the real estate market all the time. And, like what's going on, how things are feeling, how they're doing their contracts, what's going on with builders, what's going on with home inspections, and what's going on with other real estate agents. Oh, where Blackstone owned Home Partners of America plans to halt its plans on the home purchase. Oh, there's the map. So they're planning on stopping in Louisiana. That's not a big shocker. I don't even know why they would our home prices are pretty low. I don't even know why we were there. So it looks like a little bit in Central Florida, but there ain't stopping in Texas. And that's where they're buying a big share. They're not stopping in Atlanta. And that's a big share. In Atlanta at one point, they're purchasing 35% of the market, 35% of the sales for several months came from private investors. 35%. Sickening. And all they're going to do is turn them into rental units. But if you're in one of those areas, maybe it's time to find a deal, thank goodness. And that isn't shocking in California either. I mean, the prices of homes in California are ridiculously high. So anyway. Oh, speaking of real estate agents, after this comment, Eddie, I want you to pull up that TikTok, the very first one I have. I want to show this with people. Video call, good vibes. Happy Sunday. Question: given declining prices, what bargains have you found around Louisiana? Hobby, regular farms, and cattle ranches. Thank you. Good vibes. I sent you the contact for Darla. She works with those farmlands and stuff. Darla Bruno is the buyer's agent that I work with here in Louisiana for those properties. And just give her a call, because I don't work with a lot of cattle ranches or farm communities or anything like that. Darla's your girl. Dala. If anybody hasn't known, I know Matt. Matt and I have communicated.
They're not a part of the contract, but you left a few things back in the house, that you assume the buyer's going to want, like a fridge, some lawn equipment, maybe some big planters, rocking chairs, if you will. The buyer does their walkthrough, sees these things and thinks, oh, that's really nice. That's nice of them. Buyer goes to closing, signs the documents, it funds. The house is now the buyer's, right? Buyer goes over to the house, everything's gone. Where did it go? You probably would assume that maybe the seller sent over a family member or something to go and grab those items. Like maybe they intended on getting those things and you just thought they were going to leave them, No. That's not what happened. The listing agent went and stole them.
And he did not let me set up that TikTok. He just put it up on the screen. Eddie, I told you, just let me set it up first. So
You just told me to put it on.
I said, wait, let me set it up first. I said, let me finish this question. You didn't even let me set it up. Oh my gosh, men. Anyways, that is a girl who sold her house. When she sold her house, it wasn't clear, she had left some items for the buyer, whether it be a refrigerator, some potted plants, some patio furniture. The buyer comes through the house really fast, sees that she's left these things. She thinks it's great. She signs on the dotted line. She walks in the house, and all the items that were left behind that weren't in the contract, mind you, were gone. And so she ends up calling the seller because they ended up being friends and said, hey, you had left some stuff behind. Did you come and pick them up before the closing? She said, no, I left them for you. She's like, they're all gone. Everything's gone. And she was like, oh my gosh. So she calls the listing agent, and the listing agent admits that she had taken them, admits it. Why would any sane listing agent risk their real estate license to do something like that? That is theft. Now, granted, they had no claim to it. The buyers had absolutely no claim to it because it wasn't in the contract. And since those were not attached components, it was not required to stay with the listing itself. Because the seller chose to leave it there, technically that could be considered abandoned property. But the listing agent stole it, absolutely stole it. And when she was confronted with it, she was like, oh, I just assumed, she didn't think she would get caught. That's what happened. She was, doing the backstroke, trying to finagle her way out of lying off her pants. And so fast forward, she's getting the girl in trouble. She's getting a girl in trouble. So if anything like this happens to you with your real estate agent, call the broker, call the real estate commission, and call the police. Call the police and file a report. That is total insanity, completely unprofessional. I don't care what market you're in. No real estate agent should be doing stuff like that. Totally disgusting. Totally disgusting. So the next TikTok I want to show you is, in the last couple years, we've seen a lot of houses go up for new construction. And not only have they gone up for new construction, they haven't been put together in a way that we had been used to in the past. And because there was a supply chain issue, some builders tried to find ways around doing construction that we'll just say, that ain't right. That ain't right. And there's a guy on TikTok. He has his whole shtick is he'll go over to something and he'll go, that ain't right. And this is going to be the guy that comes up next. I do want to mention that the last TikTok, her name is Jen NG Style. So if you want to follow her on TikTok, it's Jen NG Style. Now the next TikTok coming up is Green Star Inspections, and he does that ain't right.
Just another 2022 new construction that they insisted they're closing out on Friday.
All right, this is why this inspection is important. Before they put up the sheetrock, now I can see behind the wall. This is the AC line. That AC line is really bent. It got a real good cramp in it. And this insulation is tore up, so once they put the wall up, this is going to sweat. It's called water behind your wall. I just did a house, and water was behind the wall by the AC line. That ain't right. And remember, I said compare. Just look. You see this plumbing? You see what they got behind there? All this, and then the taping going around it. What happened here? Huh? Just compare. You can see it yourself. That ain't right. I don't think that's either one. I got the nails trying to hold it together. That ain't right. And we got a nice big old gap right here. That's gonna stop water all right.
So that is Gold Star Inspections, and that was a brand new constructed house. Now I edited down that video because it's pretty long with all the things. There was problems with the trusses, there was problems with the insulation, there was problems with the stairs, there was multiple problems with the siding. There was more stuff that he kept showing that what is that stuff that they put out, the Tyvek, that wasn't even sealed correctly on the outside, the envelope, the house wrap. Thank you. My brain worked. The house wrap, and he went around the whole thing. Now that is the name of that was Gold Star Inspections. I had said the name incorrectly, and he always does that, and that ain't right. And this is my concern in the future. I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing in the next couple years a lot more people have problems with their brand new home. And my concern is that several new home builders have already started to pull back. We talked about it last week that home builder sentiment has way down. So a lot of them are like, well, we won't build residential properties. We're going to go into multifamily or commercial construction until we ride out this wave to figure out what's going on. So they have stopped building. What if they fold up that business to start up another business? What happens to their home warranty, the people that bought a house that, you know, had these problems and they can't get a hold of anybody? I have a feeling in the future, in the next 2 years, we're going to be seeing a lot more lawsuits. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Amy Haslett is a real estate agent in the Arizona area. It says there are field builders not allowing pre-drywall inspections. That's suspicious. It is so important to inspect before drywall and prior to closing. Yep, that is it. That is it. Yeah, I said Green Star. I meant Gold Star. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's Gold Star. He's really nice. If you guys are over on TikTok, make sure you go over there. Yeah, and there was at one point that some home builders were saying, well, you can't come and inspect the property until, you know, like XYZ, because the state comes by and inspects the concrete slab. And I said, oh, no. If you're going to build a brand new house, you're going to check that concrete slab, because we have a lot of rain around here. Sometimes the grade on the property isn't right. Oh, absolutely not. And whenever here in Louisiana, because of the way that our ground works, the inspectors come out. It can be as little as 3 times, but as many as 5 times to check to make sure things are done properly when the house is being built. But it's the type of inspection you pay for. So it's not like a standard building inspection. And you can interview your home inspectors in your area and see if they do a new home build inspection and see what that includes. I hear another one from Amy. Says, how about all those lawsuits for buyers that waive the inspection on their resale home? Amy, I don't think, honestly, if a home buyer waived their right to inspection, unless here in Louisiana, unless they can find a defect in the house that wasn't disclosed on the property disclosure, and they can prove the fact that the home sellers knew it without disclosing, that would be the only way they'll have a right to sue. I don't know how it works in other states, but in the state of Louisiana, you have to prove the fact that the sellers knew there was an issue and didn't disclose it. And I'll give you a perfect example. You move into your house, you waived the inspections, and you're having trouble with the air conditioning blowing out cold air, and you have a maintenance guy come over. As the maintenance guy comes over, a neighbor goes and says, oh, you're getting the air conditioning fixed again. Well, yeah, I mean, what, did they have a problem? Oh, that's like the 6th time the air conditioning company's been out there. If the guy comes out there and I'm going to tell you what I told the previous owners, you guys need a brand new air conditioning system. And that was never disclosed in the property disclosure. You can sue them for that. Then you have the right to sue, because you have 2 witnesses that can state the fact that they didn't disclose that there was a problem with the air conditioning unit. But who knows? I mean, who knows? And every state's going to be a little bit different. But here in Louisiana, they wouldn't have much of a leg to stand on if they have those two unbiased witnesses to say that. Especially if that vendor who's been there can show with receipts that they had been to that location several times with the seller's signature on it. Ooh, they're in big trouble. They ain't gonna win that case. They ain't gonna win it. They're not. So, all right, Eddie, if you want to key up the next one, this is another home inspection. The one that you started, but I stopped.
Just another 2022 new construction that they insisted they're closing out on Friday. And yes, they assured me the house would be ready for final inspection. Dishwasher high loop, P-trap not connected, or the aerator. All right, we got the clean out right here. Then you can see where that pipe is being ran out. You can see this PVC down there. But they need to get that sealed up a little bit better for when it freezes. We want to make sure that doesn't crack or break. Yeah, open ground. Open ground, open ground, open ground, open ground. We don't have anything. 2 days.
And I have seen this happen a lot, where they say they're going to be ready and they don't even have sod in the front yard. And let me tell you something. If they do not have sod in the yard and you see a bunch of garbage in the yard, and then the next day there's sod in the yard, I want you to walk over there and pick up the sod to make sure they cleaned up that garbage. Because I will tell you, home builders do not give two flying flips, and they will lay that sod right on top of the garbage. Everything. I mean, roofing nails, bottles, everything. It's disgusting. My husband and I, when we had our first house, we had pulled up all the grass because it kept dying all the time. There was so much garbage underneath there. And at one point we kept having this tree die. And sure enough, underneath that tree, there was like a big piece of concrete and a part of a wheelbarrow and a part of a shovel. No wonder why the tree couldn't live, because they couldn't get the roots past that point. So make sure they clean up that front area. Get rid of the garbage before they lay down your sod. And that's why, and this is the other reason why it's so important. I know the state comes out and inspects the property, and you have state inspections that approve it, but have your own inspector inspect it, please, even especially with that foundation. You know, like I've seen more and more foundations in the past year that have been in bad shape, and like they should have never passed state inspections, and they did. So, yep. So Laura says, do you think predict more houses will be available in the spring? I wish I had a crystal ball. I mean, honestly, from what it looks like at this moment, we're going to just see back to a normal balanced market. I'm like, in the spring, maybe 45 to 60 days on the market, which is normal. That is a normal amount of time. But the home prices will remain flat as long as the interest rates do not increase. Increasing interest rates and prices dropping doesn't really benefit you as a buyer. Not at all. Matter of fact, you're probably going to end up spending more because of higher interest rates. So, you know, like if you have the funds and it's something you can balance out and give a good reason why you want to buy a house, and you're not having like FOMO, you know, then, you know, go ahead and purchase a house. But if you don't plan on living there for at least 5 years, don't buy a house. Don't buy a house. Do not buy a house. You know, like this is a big financial decision, and using your home as an ATM, or you know, in 5 years thinking you're going to make as much as people did, you know, the last couple of years, this is very unusual. It's not going to happen that way. And I wouldn't expect it to. So, I don't know if there's going to be more inventory on the market in spring. My predictions are that the amount of listings will lighten up throughout the fall, and we'll see more after Mardi Gras. And that's like right in the spring. So if we see a bunch of houses hit the market and the jobs market tanks, you're going to see a lot of listings, a lot. a lot. So this market has changed so quickly in the last now almost 3 years, much more than any other time that I've ever been in real estate. It's really crazy. Byron Thomas says, question, since incomes are decreasing and it's difficult for some to buy a house, do you still see home ownership as possible? Yes, I do. And I think that we're going to see a lot more programs coming out in the future when it comes to first-time home buying. And now that sellers have gotten more reasonable, it's going to be a lot more helpful to you as a home buyer. I don't, there's no way that this frenzy can last forever. There's still markets that still have multiple offers, but it isn't normal. This is not normal. And once things balance out, I think there's still going to be possibilities for us to own homes. There's been in the pipeline, and there's been some plans, and there's bills sitting out there right now that will allow home developers to build houses more affordably. And that's the problem with all of this. Even prior to the pandemic, you can look up news articles, and the biggest decline of housing being built is affordable housing options, because it didn't benefit the builder. The builder was like, I could build on that same lot, instead of building a 1,200 square foot house, I can build a 2,200 square foot house and make a lot more money. Why would I build the 1,200 square foot house? So there's some bills sitting out there. There's incentives for them to do that with building materials and the cost of land. So hopefully, I mean, all these things take time. So if it was to pass, it would be several years, but at least they're addressing the affordability crisis in some way. Nothing happens overnight, but at least they're willing to accept that there is a real problem and they're willing to address it. So, let's see what happens. Anytime that the state gets government money, they're willing to do things a lot quicker. Serenity Cow says, do you think real estate agents advise sellers to pull their homes off the market in the fall and winter, and why? What's your advice for shopping off season? That's going to depend on the real estate agent. Now, sometimes people pull their houses off the market because I'm like this. I want to decorate for Christmas, and like whenever you have your house for sale during the holidays, sometimes it can offend some buyers. Whatever your practices are for holidays. So, you don't want to keep it like vanilla for the holidays, especially if you have kids and stuff. You want to decorate. I don't care. I'm going to decorate anyways, whether my house is for sale or not. But, that's why some people will pull their houses off the market. And if it does seem like the buyers have dried up in the area, some people will tell you, maybe this isn't the time for you to sell, especially if they don't have to sell, and it doesn't look really good. If you don't have to sell, your house is overpriced, you've had it on the market for about a month, and the real estate agent's like, look, you know what? You don't have to sell. Why don't you just go ahead and pull it off for a while, and we'll revisit this in the spring. I think that's why sometimes real estate agents do that. But decorating for the holidays puts a stink in things. But if you want to shop during the holidays, that's the best time to get deals, because people that have their house up for sale during the holidays, they have to sell. They're like, they genuinely have to sell. So if you as a buyer need to buy or want to buy during that time, granted the amount of houses available is slim, but the people that are selling really want to sell their house. They really want to sell, so you can get some good deals. I sold a house on Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving Day, and this house was like it was like an $800,000 house. And we got it under contract for $625 because these people needed to sell. It was amazing. It was amazing. Brian Thomas says, how does the listing brokerage establish the price for the house? Oh, how does the listing broker establish the price for the house? So I don't know if you heard me earlier talking about something called a CMA. It's a cost market analysis. So they take all the houses in that area, in that neighborhood, with the same square footage, the same amenities, and they give an average of what those houses sold for, not what they were listed for, but what they sold for. And they tell you how long they were sat on the market. And this is how you average out what the price should be. So if every house in the neighborhood sold for $100,000 and they sold in 30 days, you probably want to list your house at like 105 and then, give them some wiggle room, and then you bring it back down to 100 and then it gets sold. That's how real estate works. That's how it works. And sometimes you can sweeten the deal if you're in a market that's having trouble selling your house. You can sweeten the deal with things in that listing, like you're going to be offering a little bit of closing costs. You're going to offer a home warranty, those kinds of things, so you can get your home sold a little quicker. Question: have you seen multifamily listings increase or decrease in the last couple of weeks? Multifamily listings have not decreased. They're like, it's just regular, not increased or decreased. It's remained flat in my specific area. And I haven't seen any trend that made my eyes go, what? Just recently, I have not. Noelle has a question. I have to tell you, Noelle, my husband and I had this African fat-tailed gecko that I got him for Christmas, and we named her Noelle. It's still my husband's favorite pet that we had to give away, but it still breaks his heart. So your name will always have a special place in my husband's heart. When buying an off-site built home, would you use a MH Advantage, Fannie, or Choice Home Friday programs, or worth the extra money to go modular in terms of future resale? This depends 100% on your financial debt to income. If my debt to income said I could either buy a manufactured home or buy a modular home, I'm always going to lean towards the modular side because of the way they're constructed. I like a modular home. They appraise like regular houses. They're no different. They hold their value just like a traditional stick-built home. A manufactured home, yes, it does increase in value, but it does not increase nearly at the same rate as a traditional built or modular constructed house. Both of them are very good energy efficient products. And I love myself a manufactured home. And matter of fact, I want to show you, since we're speaking of that, I'm going to show you this manufactured home that I just saw. And I dare say this manufactured home is like no other.
There were days where we thought we wouldn't make it.
So that's Honey, Texas Realtor, that shared that. And that was a triple wide manufactured home. And they have really, if you haven't looked at them, some people will call them a mobile home, or they'll call them a trailer. And they are manufactured homes. They are built to higher standards than they ever were in the past. What your conception of a manufactured home is completely different than how they're made now. And like, if you were to just see the inside of that house, you would never in a million years imagine that that's a manufactured home. And I've noticed the trend with younger people. They're like, you know what? I don't care if you think I'm trash. I'm buying this. I love this house. It's affordable for me and my family. We have a piece of land here. My kids get to play. I don't have to worry about neighbors. I'm totally happy with my manufactured home. And I'm happy to see that younger generations don't like turn their nose up and say, oh, that's not good enough for me, because they are quality houses. They are quality houses. Eddie, do you have a question that you want to pop on the screen, my friend? Here we are, Noelle. Oh, Eddie, you already did that question. Eddie Smallhorn. Eddie's slacking. Everybody's going to have to give Eddie some smack. Diamond Rush Media says, saw a video this week that said that HUD, VA, etc., the government doesn't set any minimum on interest, and it's up to the lenders. True or false? Ooh, Well, it depends on your credit score and your all right, interest rates are cost of borrowing money that represents the creditors earn for lending you money. The rates are constantly changing and differ based on the lender as well as the credit worthiness. Interest rates are not only keep the economy functioning, but they also keep the people borrowing, spending, and lending. But most of us don't really stop to think how they implement and who determines them. So it's up to the lender. But I thought it was let's look at the key takeaways real quick. Interest rates are cost of borrowing money and represent what creditors earn for lending. Central banks raise and lower short-term interest rates to ensure the stability of the liquidity in the market. Retail banks can also control the base of the markets, their business needs, and individual customers. I would be lying if I said this. This is just from my personal experience, but I always was told that it had to do with the customer's credit score, their debt to income ratio. It was all a numbers game. It had nothing to do if they liked you or not. It just was what the numbers came out to be. And whatever that number came out to be, they took this little thing and took a graph and they said, okay, that's what your interest rate's going to be for today. It was not anything like personal against you because they don't like your eye color or something. I don't know. I 100% would be lying to say that I knew the exact answer on that. But you know who I could ask? Trevor Smith. I don't know if I've had him on the show here before. He's the mortgage wingman, Trevor Smith. Love him. I can ask him and see what he says, because I don't think they can just automatically like pull an interest rate out of their hat just to say, oh, that's what you qualify for. Now, I know that can change when it comes to financing a manufactured home because they don't fall under the same regulations as a traditional mortgage. Many of these rates are independent of the Fed fund rate. And instead of following the 10-year to 30-year Treasury note yields, the yields depend on the demand after the U.S. Treasury auctions them off on the market. Lower demand tends to result in higher interest rates. But when there's a high demand for notes, it can push the rates down lower. Yeah, but she was asking, right. But she was asking if they could like all of a sudden pull a rate out of their hat and say, this is what you qualify for, even though you could have qualified for a lot less. They just give you a higher rate just because, they don't like your, your upper lip, Yeah. And see this is perfectly true. It says underwriters are not supposed to know things about you that they can use to discriminate. 100% true. That's why once it passes the lender's hands to the underwriters, they don't even know who they are. They pass them through and then they get them back from the underwriters. That like they don't even, you don't get to plead your case to the underwriters, Question. I bought my house and the seller's attorney refused to allow an inspection. Is that legal? I bought my house and the seller's attorney refused to allow an inspection. Well, that depends on what the contract stated. If the contract states that you are entitled to an inspection, then that's a breach of contract. There's a line item in all purchase agreements that has like an inspection period. If that inspection period was declined, then you don't get the right to inspect it because it was declined. That would be totally dependent on what the contract says. Now, if it says you had a 14-day inspection period and the attorney says, oh no, don't let them in because they don't get the right to inspect it, then you have a case on your hands. I don't know what the state laws in your area when it comes to that, but if they're in breach of contract, get yourself an attorney, get yourself another attorney, file a case. File a case. Eddie got another question for me, my friend. Lawnmower, the commonologist. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to have you back. Have more houses come to the market because of the seller suffering from FOMO? I think some sellers were what I call testing the market. So they had heard about their friends and family selling their houses for exorbitant amounts of money, well over asking prices. And they felt like, oh, maybe I should get in on that action. And so they put their houses on the market way above the market value, thinking that they were going to, be rolling in the dough like Scrooge McDuck. So a lot of them are like, oh, that didn't really happen. I guess I'll just go ahead and take it off the market. I think there is some of that. That's why the amount of listings that were for sale went down 12%. That didn't surprise me in the least bit, because there were some people that were trying to, get in the last minute. But the party's over, people. It's time to be back to normal. Get your head out of the clouds. Let's have some fair negotiation, more balanced market. That's gonna be the buzzword from all the real estate experts. Stacy, Stacy, thank you for the $20 super chat. I appreciate. Oh, it's a super sticker. Thank you so much. I can't see it on my screen. I hope it's like a dancing person, or like a little dancing smiley face. Thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. I appreciate you so much.
It actually is.
It is something dancing. I'm good. Was it doing the wave? Eddie, was it doing this? I've always wanted to do this. You remember when this was popular in the 80s, man? I'd sit in the mirror for hours trying to get myself to do this, and I still can't do it, but I try all the time.
The super sticker says you're amazing, and it's doing a dance that you would actually be doing.
Like, was it doing this? Oh, the thunder. Did you hear that, man? All right. Jasmine says, can you dive into the housing market will look over the next few months in Yuba, Sutter, Sacramento counties in California? Thanks. I usually talk about the real estate market as a whole and nationally. The California guy that you should look at is Jeb Smith. Jeb Smith. He has a YouTube channel where he talks about the housing market, and Jason Walters. Two really amazing, good, no BS guys that will give it to you straight. They'll tell you how it is. So look at their two channels. They have a lot of stuff about California. Eddie, you want to put up another question, or do you want to go ahead and put another ticky talkie? That's up to you. You tell me what you want to do. Here we go. He wants me to do another question here. I get confused about the difference between modular manufactured houses. Can you explain the difference once again? Okay. Do you hear the thunder? I didn't make that up. That's really happening. A manufactured home and a modular home are both homes that are made in a manufacturing plant. The difference is a manufactured home comes in and is settled onto a piece of property in 2 sections or 3 sections or even 1 section. But the component is one, and they sit it down and they put it all together and they get it done in just a few days. A modular home is a traditional built home built in sections, and those sections are put together one piece at a time. It could take several days for those pieces to go together. Think of it as like little cubes, and each room is a cube that's being shipped, and they connect those cubes together. Normally they come in panels. So those panels are numbered and marked, and they put them together. They're stacked on a truck bed. They're stacked, and they bring them over to the area, and they slide those pieces together. The reason I like a modular home is because they can't get it wrong. If they try to put one of those panels in the wrong spot, it won't slide in. It won't fit in the part. It's like putting a puzzle together. That puzzle piece, you can't finagle it together. It has to work all together. And that's why it has such a nice, complete seal. And that's why they're so much more energy efficient than a traditional built home as well. So that's the biggest difference. That manufactured homes, they're going to be less per square foot. They're going to cost less per square foot. Modular homes, the square footage wise, price per square foot is going to be in line with traditional home building square footage. So I hope that straightened that out for you. I hope that did. Yeah. Question: what will happen to the property prices if in the desert areas like Las Vegas and even California if the Water becomes scarcer than it is now. I have talked about that quite a bit on these live streams, and that is extremely interesting. It isn't just California, it's Utah too, because I was out in southern Utah, close to Phoenix. It is dry out there, and they were putting up home buildings everywhere. And I kept asking, like, where are they going to get the water? Because I'm looking, and their lakes were dry, and they like. So I had did this whole investigation, and when they had designed many of these areas in these cities, those engineers from the 40s stated, like, you can't have any more of this. Is what your population caps out at. And the politicians and the home builders and everybody else went, what did they know? What do they know? And they did it anyways. And here we are suffering their consequences because of it. It will be extremely interesting if those waters become even lower. I watch that all the time because, I mean, if the water goes, then what happens? Israel has a very cool system where they actually take salt seawater and they have a desalination process where they remove the salt from the water, and they're able to get as much water as they need because of this system. Why we don't do this here, I have no idea, but I'm sure it has to do with somebody's money. I'm sure it has to do with politics and somebody getting a lot of money. So Spinacre, $5 super chat. Realtor is out of the country. Can he handle a modular home? Can he handle a modular home, garage, and own the land as a package in a recently pre-approved $300,000 max commercial loan here in Florida? You're getting a modular home and you want to put it on a commercial property. I don't know what the laws are in Florida, but here in Louisiana, you can't put a residential home in a commercial property. Your real estate agent, of course, can handle the transaction. Of course they can, because it's just a new home construction. That's all that is. It's just a new home construction contract, new construction loan. But if the property, the land is zoned commercial, you're not going to be able to put a residential property on there, just FYI. So that's why they have zoning laws. Serenity Cow says, what are the benefits and differences in being a cash first-time buyer versus taking a loan? If one has $200,000 for a home, they should be able to pay the entire amount or open a loan for cushion. My dad is the director of finance, and he, at this age, still has a loan on his house for many reasons. All the wise people have loans because you want to have cash on hand as much as possible, because you never know when poop is going to hit the fan. So, just think about that. Just think about that. Now, there's nothing wrong, of course. Everybody was cash buyers there for a while, and there's nothing wrong with having a home loan. And if you want to put down a nice, healthy 10-20% on that loan to get yourself, your payments down, hey, do that and hold on to as much cash as possible. Anything can happen in the future. You never know what's going to happen with your health, anything. You want to keep that cash on hand for when you need it, and you can use it to invest in other things, not just putting it into a home. That's my advice. Loan is a commercial loan, not FHA so you've been approved. The land is residential, but you've been approved for a commercial loan. You're going to have to meet back with your lender. And that would be considered a new construction loan. Yes. Says, question, have you addressed how the Fed, Chairman Powell says, staying committed to raising interest rates, those currently adjusted rates versus those entering the market? I do when I have a guest, so we can bounce off ideas. I'm not going to hit on that today. I have my own opinions about what the Fed does. Mr. Powell does and says things very carefully before anything ever happens to a market. And he purposely says those things in his addresses, so that way he kind of preps the market to see what it does, because just him saying it causes the markets to change. So he's like, well, I'm going to do this if you don't do this. So then the market's reacting, and then he's like, well, maybe I don't have to do that after all. You know, he's crafty, man. He's so crafty. Oh, Andrew told me to say hi. Hi, Andrew. I hope you're enjoying school. Andrew is Amy's son, and he has been a long-time subscriber to the show, and he's helped me in the past with some of my live streams, so I appreciate his help. All right, another question. Eddie on the screen for like 10 seconds. My mouth is dry. All right, best place to find a contractor to work on rental properties. Typically, there are real estate companies, people that have real estate license that manage properties. But I found that people that do not necessarily have their real estate license, but that is their job, is real estate management, are the best ones. But I would, that first year, be watching them like hawks, because there are a ton of really bad real estate management companies. So I would look online, look at the reviews. If their comments are turned off on their business page on any social media site, that's a giant red flag. And if you can't find them in Google, that's another red flag. So just be very cautious and ask other people in the area who they use for their management company. And you can even put a post on like your local, like a local Facebook group, and ask if they know of any good real estate management companies, because people love to give their opinions, and they'll even tell you if they don't like them too in that post. So that's a great place to find a good management company. Oh, question. The builders here in Indianapolis reduce about 5%, and that's it. They're not going down any further. Do you think we can wait a bit? Well, if you don't want to wait because you're worried about the interest rates going back up, I would try to get them to sweeten the deal some other way, right? So I would ask, okay, you're not going to go down in price another, but 5%. Could you give me an incentive like putting blinds on the window? Could you give me a appliance upgrade package? Can you give me a washer, a clothes washer and dryer? Like that is not included in the houses here. So you can ask for those things, so that way you can sweeten the deal even more. Find some other way, if they're not going to bring down the price, that they can sweeten that pot even better. Because you don't want to, my fear is for you, if you have the ability and the payments are right for you and your debt to income is right for you, and you wait it out and the prices do come down a little bit, but the interest rates are higher, you're going to end up paying more. So just think about that. So just try to get them away to get you some more incentive. How about getting a guest from Boise? That's an intriguing market. That is an intriguing market. And I had somebody from Boise that got out of the real estate business. They're no longer in the real estate business. Sometimes some people get in this business and they find out that it's work, and they weren't anticipating that, because that's not what they saw on HGTV. So I don't know if you guys know this, but most times when people are guests on my show, I talk to them for quite some time before I ever allow them to be on my live streams. And this was somebody I had been talking to several times. And every time I checked in with them, that it was that fourth time they ex-nayed out of the market. So I will look into that and see if I can get somebody that I feel comfortable with. That's for sure. Because it is intriguing. I never, when the market prices in Boise started going down so quickly, I didn't even know that Boise was such a hot market in the first place. I'm like, who wants to move out there? And then I found out there was like all this industry and everything else. I don't think it will, as much as the prices have gone down, unless they have a big pullout of major corporations. I don't think they'll completely collapse. Question. In Louisiana, YouTuber Steel cracker, popular in his home state, like he's out of. Popular in his home state, like he's out.
Steel Cracker is a popular TikToker more than YouTube.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked him out. Do I know him, Eddie? Is it the guy that does the how he cooks the crawfish and stuff? Is it that
you can
guy?
Put a cracker on it. Yeah, you could put it on a cracker. Yeah.
Oh, you could put it on a cracker. Well, here in Louisiana, anything goes on a cracker. So anything. Stale cracker. It's stale cracker. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Stale cracker. All right, everybody. That is, well, we're going to be wrapping it up. If you need a real estate agent in your specific area and you're having trouble finding a good real estate agent, I'm actually connected with thousands of real estate agents across the country. All you have to do is go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and fill out a referral form. Please fill out the area, the part where it has the phone number, because I'd love to talk to you about you and your specific real estate needs. Everybody that puts a phone number there gets a phone call. And every time I talk to them, they're like, is this really you? I'm like, yes, of course it's really me. So I'd love to speak with you if you would like a real estate agent in your specific area. Not always can I find you an agent, because some of you guys live in some rural areas that I'd even never heard of anymore. But generally, I have a good collection, a good resource of good real estate agents throughout the country. So just fill out the button, fill out the form, and hit that submit button, and it comes into my email box, and I'll get a hold of you within a week. So I look forward to hearing from you guys that do need a personal referral. Don't forget to smash the like button, and please thank our moderators for keeping the chat clean and spending their last hour and 15 minutes with all of us. I hope you guys enjoyed today's program. It was a little different than normal. Normally we have a guest, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun just to kind of hang out with you guys and just talk about real estate. Not talk about headlines, just you and me have a personal conversation. Last time I did this, I did it in a beanbag chair, but I didn't do it this time. So don't forget to hit the like button on the way out, everybody. Eddie, let's everybody out with some music. Let's let them out with some music. And I'll try to do my wave. For the last 30 years, I still can't do it. I need somebody to teach me how to do it. They can teach me how to Dougie and how to do the wave. Eddie doesn't got the music going. What's going on, man? Where's the music? Oh, here we go. What is this music, man? I can't dance to this. Wow. This is the music we got, y'all. I can't even do the wave. Maybe. This is more of like a